All right, Saturday morning, May 2nd, third draft of the day, second one I'm streaming. And we are going to hopefully win some money in this one. I had the fourth spot in my last draft that I streamed. This one I've got the fifth. So, we're going to make sure that we build a different team compared to last time, even though I'm close to a similar draft spot. Shouldn't be too hard. I like to try to be a little bit unique if I can in every single draft. Now, you guys just coming in, hit that like and subscribe on the way in. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll make sure that you get all the value that you need before you are on the way out. Stick around for the end of this draft because, what's going to happen at the top end of this draft, sometimes there's a few surprises, but for the most part, these guys are all known commodities up here at the top part of the draft. If you really want to maximize your value out of my videos, you should really stick around to the end parts of the draft when I'm going through all the rookies, all the sleepers, all the guys who are going to emerge that the rest of the field just does not know about yet. Now, I've talked about this in a few other videos, but I think it bears repeating, and that is the fact that, if you listen to the analysts, you listen to a lot of Best Ball Bros on YouTube, you will come away thinking that there are only a few rookies worth taking in this draft. That is just blatantly false, okay? There are numerous rookies. Just because a lot of them aren't so highly touted right now, we need to use that to our advantage, and we need to draft these players before the rest of the field figures out who they are, okay? Now, I did my own scouting. I don't rely on the analysts. So I have my own projections on who I think is going to. Okay, so hopefully this guy takes Puka. I took Puka. Okay, good. I took Puka in the last draft, so I didn't want to take him again here. Now, with the fifth pick, I'm going to grab me probably McCaffrey or Taylor here. I do have more Taylor exposure than McCaffrey. I'm going to grab McCaffrey. Why not? He's got that tremendous receiving upside. You guys don't even need me to comment here. You know why McCaffrey is an incredible pick in the first round. It is, the only question is, can he stay healthy again? This guy has been incredibly productive for a long time. We keep thinking he's going to fall off, and, seems like every other year people are down on him. Until he stops producing, you just have to have a certain amount of exposure to Christian McCaffrey. We'll see who's going to fall to us with the 20th pick. I'm not really sure. It would be nice. I know that Malik Neighbors has been falling towards the back end of the second round a lot. I've even seen him go in the beginning of the third round, which is ridiculous. I don't know how everyone could possibly pass on Malik Neighbors twice in the same draft, unless you think that he's just not going to be healthy. He's not going to come back and be his old self. I think that's a little bit crazy. I think Malik Neighbors is an absolute stud, special player. The Giants are doing good things. They built up their offensive line a little bit, so he projects to have his best season to date, in my opinion, even if he were to miss the first couple weeks or not be 100% for the first couple weeks. That doesn't mean I'm definitely going to take him with the 8th pick in the second round. I very well might if he's still on the board, but we'll see who's going to fall to us. No one has, let's see here. Looks like no one has made any egregious picks so far. And we'll take a quick peek around. None of my friends are here in this draft with me, I do not believe. Hopefully a few of these guys will come across this video, feel like a superstar because they're featured, and subscribe to the channel. I've only had a couple people who I've drafted with find this channel and my videos so far. I'm hoping that a lot more of you guys find it, though. This is a new channel starting from scratch, building up from the ground floor. Not a whole lot of subscribers yet, but I'm only, I'm less than 2 weeks into this. And as you can tell, I supply lots of value for everyone who plays best ball, so you might want to subscribe. All right, you're going to hear some different things from me, some educated different opinions. I'm not just making stuff up. Josh Allen went pretty early in the second round, but I'm not gonna talk smack about that because. Okay, so here we could go elite tight end with Trent McBride. I don't love that in the second round. If I could do it in a third round, sometimes I like it more. Hampton has a really horrible offensive line out there with the Chargers. I'm just gonna grab Neighbors. I called it in advance, and he did fall to me. Gotta love that pick. at 20. I mean, this guy, closer to the start of the regular season, I fully expect Malik Neighbors to be a first-round pick, especially if it starts to look like his health is clearing up a little bit. I've seen him moving around, and he does not look like he is super far away. The reports aren't great on him yet, but he's got plenty of time until the start of the season to finish rehabbing. There goes Trent McBride and Hampton. I really don't love Hampton in the second round. If he falls to the third round, okay, sure. That's where I'm going to get my exposure to him. But it's just that offensive line is so horrible. They're a bottom 5 offensive line. Herbert has no time. Okay, there goes both of the top 2 elite tight ends in the second round. And that's great. If they want to build like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Elite tight end gives you a huge edge, but what that does for me is it's going to push some other non-tight ends down to me who might not have fallen to me at 29. I mean, both of those guys, usually one of them might fall past this draft position of 29. It's Ben Bowers. The last draft I got Bowers in the third round. Mm-hmm. It was right here where this guy's picking now because I was in the 4th slot in that draft. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. We got Nico Collins, who could be in store for a huge year. Kyron Williams, I have a lot of exposure to him for good reason. I love the guy. The Rams have the number 1 rated offensive line. And, yeah, I just got to do it. Just got to do it. Okay, so we got a real strong running back start with McCaffrey and Kyron Williams. Malik Neighbors is an absolute stud. So we're off to a good start. This guy has us pretty strong but unsafe start at running back with Bijan and Derrick Henry and Jeremiah Love. At least he got Love in the third round, a little bit more value than where some other guys are going. But to take Love ahead of Kyron Williams, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. There's probably a couple other backs still on the board who I'd rather have than Love as well. Maybe not Josh Jacobs. Maybe, though. No, I mean, that's a fair spot. He really, Kyron is the only other running back who should definitely go before Love. But maybe Love ends up being a smash. I happen to think that it's not going to work out so well. They don't have a great offensive line. And, you're taking him in this area of the draft. You're hoping that he's going to turn into one of these other guys. That, it's like, do you want to take Derrick Henry or Kyron Williams? Or do you want to take a chance that Jeremiah Love might turn into one of those guys? I mean, and there might be a good chance, but the guy hurdles way too much. Did you see his highlights? Did you watch his highlights in college, or you just believe in everyone else that this guy's special? Because to me, he presses the triangle button in Madden every single run. I mean, every single time he's trying to jump over every single person. Which, okay, good. I'm glad you got hops, dude, but this is the NFL we're talking about now, where other guys got hops. Everyone's bigger, everyone's stronger, everyone hits harder, and you're going to jump over people and take those hits super high in the ground. You're just going to impact, you're super high off the ground, then you're going to impact the ground super hard when you hit. It doesn't project well for injuries. He's going to have to use some other moves. And I just don't think he's going to be able to make NFL defenders look stupid quite as often as he was able to do, with the Fighting Irish. Okay, Lamar goes in the third round. A little high there. A little high. I don't love this. I don't love Mark's team in the 12 hole. I'll reserve my judgments on the African God. Took Lamar a little bit high. At least he's stacking him with flowers. He's got Barkley and Amon-Ra, so his team could end up being all right. We'll see how he finishes building it. This guy's got no wide receivers. The guy on the clock right now, he still doesn't. If you're going to take an elite tight end in the top couple rounds, you kind of have to spread it out just a little bit. You can't lean on running backs, completely fade wide receivers and tight ends, and take an elite quarterback super high. You're just going to be thin at all your other positions. You have to really consider the ramifications of taking a bold pick high. And there's definitely advantage to that, but then you need to finish building your team accordingly, right? So, all right. So on this team, I've got McCaffrey, Kyron, and Neighbors. We could really use another big-time wide receiver like Igbuka. I don't want any tight ends. It's too high for Warren. Let's just grab Igbokwe. I like Igbokwe to be the new guy down there in Tampa Bay. Now that Mike Evans is gone, Godwin is coming back from injury and doesn't look quite like his old self. They do have Tez Johnson, who was a rookie last year, who I liked a lot. You know what? I made a video. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 best ball drafts ago. Well, maybe like 10 best ball drafts ago, but 3 or 4 streamed best ball drafts ago, and I accidentally misspoke and I said Tez Johnson, the rookie. I think what happened was I moved on to the next thought before I finished that thought. I meant to say Tez Johnson, the rookie from last year. Or maybe I was talking about Ted Hurst and I was talking about the rookie from this year. I'm not even sure what I meant to say, but I know I misspoke. Tez Johnson, obviously I know the guy's not a rookie. He was a rookie last year. I loved him last year. I was drafting him last year. But you know what? I like Ted Hurst, the Bucs rookie this year, even more than Tez Johnson. I mean, Tez Johnson might have a little bit more of a claim. He might get a few more targets, possibly because he already has a little bit of a connection built up with Baker. But Ted Hurst is just a big body guy. I think that Baker is really going to like him a lot. And I don't expect him to fill in for Mike Evans, but he is a big body guy like that. He is like I think he's a solid 6'4". He might even be 6'5". And he's got great body control. Baker's just going to throw it up to him, even when he's covered, and let Ted Hurst high point that ball. So, assuming he's around later, now that I already have Igbokwe, I might target Baker. We'll see what happens with that. I've been taking a lot of Jackson Dart, so even though I have Malik Neighbors, I might stay away from Jackson Dart in this draft, but we'll see how it pans out. Let's see, 5th round. We've got 2 strong running backs, 2 strong wide receivers. You know what? I'm going to reach just a little bit for Warren. I love me some Warren over there in Indianapolis, especially if Daniel Jones can stay healthy. He really looked like an elite tight end last year, much more so than Loveland, who went 2 rounds ago. So I think that even though I took Warren a little bit ahead of ADP, he wouldn't have made it back to me for my next pick. I think that he's a really solid pick this year. And I think compared to the other elite tight ends that have gone so far, I mean, there's been 2, really. 2.5, maybe, if you count Loveland. But, I project Warren to have a better season than Loveland, and I got him 2 rounds later, so it's just a better deal. Okay, this guy goes Drake May, naked right now. We'll see if he plans on stacking in later on in this draft. Not so many people have quarterbacks yet, so it's not so clear who's stacking and who's not stacking, who's planning on stacking, and who's just throwing darts randomly into the wind. Let's see here. All right, here's the guy that I was looking at, the African God. Took Lamar a little bit too early, but his build is interesting, so I'm curious to see who he's going to take and how deep his knowledge is. Is he one of these guys who only knows players who get drafted in the first 10 rounds? And he goes Chuba Hubbard. A little bit questionable there. That's all right. I mean, I like Chuba. I mean, I like Judkins a lot more, and he went after him. There goes Terry McLaurin. Not so interested in Terry McLaurin. I do expect him to have a good year, but I'm just down on Washington all around. I think that all the other teams in the NFC East got a little bit better, and Washington seemingly got a little bit worse. I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Commanders. There goes Carnell Tate in the 6th. You know what? I like where he's going. He's dropped post-draft after getting drafted by Tennessee. Even though he was projecting as a wide receiver 2, and now he walks right into a wide receiver 1 spot, people seem to realize that Tennessee is not an optimal situation. They've got O-line problems, quarterback uncertainty. We're not sure if Cam Ward is going to step up and be the guy that we kind of were expecting him to be or not. I do think he projects to take a step up and be a little bit better this year, Cam Ward, that is. I don't necessarily love Carnell Tate, but I like him a lot better in the 6th round where he's going now as compared to the 3rd round where he was going pre-draft. That was a little crazy, even without his destination known. I was taking him a little bit because you never know. He could have ended up in a really good situation, but the chances were slim. We all were pretty confident that he was going to go semi-early in the actual NFL draft, so he was probably going to get taken by a crappy team, so I wasn't even loving him back then, really. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to take Parker Washington. Parker Washington looked really good at the end of the season last year. I'm just kind of hoping that he can continue that kind of play. He put up big numbers the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, over 20 points every week. I think that one of those was a playoff game, I think. Yeah, we got a playoff game, and he had 26 points in Week 19. Week 19, it didn't affect Best Ball. But still, the last 4 games that he played, he had really good production, and he had a few good weeks before that as well. He could just turn into a really good player over there in Jacksonville. I think Parker Washington, I think he has much more production than Travis Hunter in this offense this coming year, I believe. Okay, there goes a couple of guys that I kind of like. I don't love Jordan Tyson, but he's a real exciting player. I'm just a little bit worried about the injuries, so I need him to drop a decent amount past ADP before I really want to take him, unless I'm building a shuck stack. I love Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce somehow was the highest paid free agent wide receiver this offseason, and people still are kind of down on him. Getting drafted in the 6th round, even though he got that huge contract, even though Michael Pittman is gone, even though he looks to be the number 1 option out there, maybe besides Warren, in the Indianapolis offense. Well, obviously, besides Jonathan Taylor as well, but I mean receiving option. Okay, there goes Dak. I still have no quarterbacks. 77. I know I said I wasn't going to go after Dart, but if Dart is here, he does fit with this team. He's got that rushing upside. It's so hard for me to resist Dart, especially when I have neighbors on my team already. I was planning on going a different direction in this draft because I might have I don't think I have a higher percentage Dart than anyone, but he's got to be one of my higher exposure quarterbacks right now at this point. I don't know if it's still going to be like that towards the beginning of the season or not. We got quite a few guys here, though. But I expect a run to start. Maybe I'll start the run. Could take Stevenson or Wilson. All right, we'll get that stack. We'll get that stack with Malik Neighbors. Oh, geez, and the quarterback run already started. I didn't even notice. But yeah, I expect it to continue here. Maybe not with this pick, but a good handful of quarterbacks are going to go before I pick again. Dart would have got snagged on me almost for sure. And we're almost at the second half. We're coming up on the 8th round pick now, in a couple of rounds. That's when I'm really going to start exploiting the fact that the other guys in this draft with me just do not know the depth players nearly as much. They do not know the rookies nearly as much. They're trusting analysts way more, and they are trusting themselves way less as compared to someone like me who has gone out of my way for months and months and months to scout the rookies like crazy, to really go through the data analysis on the existing veterans and just be more prepared than everyone else. And that doesn't show so much in the first half of the drafts, but it starts to show itself in the second half of the drafts. Okay. All right, looks like my last draft is finally done being checked by YouTube. Let's get that published. Boom, published. All right, so that one will be out. Hopefully, at least a couple of you guys will have watched it by the time I'm done with this draft and get this one posted. And if you saw this one first, go back and check out my other one, because the other one that I did about 11 o'clock this morning was a real interesting draft. So a couple of unexpected things happened. I really maximized my value late in the draft. That's where I have the real advantage. I don't mean to beat a dead horse and keep talking about this, but you guys really need to stick around to the ends of my videos, because that's where the value is going to come. That's where you're really going to improve your teams. That's where you're going to start to get a knowledge of these guys that I'm talking about later in drafts, while other people are just throwing darts. And I'm going to give you my educated breakdown on a lot of these guys. It'll be, a few different guys in every draft, or maybe I will repeat some of the guys that I like a lot, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in certain videos. I have noticed that I have been bringing up Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman a lot in most of these videos. I do love both of those rookies. They're not necessarily my two favorite rookies, but they are two rookies that I like a lot, and I've been getting them at great value picks. So I keep talking about them. But I think what I'm going to do is pretty soon I'm going to purposely stop talking about those guys. And I'm gonna give that advantage to my early subscribers. My early watchers can have my true opinion on Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston, two of my strongest opinions on the rookies in this class. I'm a little bit more worried about Denzel Boston and his suboptimal situation in Cleveland, but I do think that he's good enough for it not even to matter. Okay, and Jonah Coleman, he's gonna beat out R.J. Harvey or J.K. Dobbins for 50% or more of the carries in Denver. I'm just calling it right now. That seems obvious to me, because I've actually done my research on Jonah Coleman, unlike a lot of these people who are just talking about him out of the side of their face for no reason. I'm gonna grab Stevenson here, get some good value. He's a great player, and they have a really good offensive line in New England, so I expect that to continue. Where did Henderson go? Henderson went in the 5th round. Stevenson went here in the 8th round. These guys had, let's see, last year, Henderson. Why is this taking so long to open up? Whoa, what's going on? All right, Henderson had 10 points a game, and Stevenson had 13 points a game. Stevenson was more productive last year. Obviously, Henderson was the rookie, and people were a little bit more excited about him, but Stevenson produced more last year. I expect them to produce around the same, and if Henderson produces more, I don't think it's going to be a lot more. And considering this guy took Henderson in the 5th round, I got Stevenson in the 8th round. That's just way more value on my points. Okay, now we got 101 coming right up. Let's take a quick peek at my team here. We got 1 quarterback and 1 tight end, 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers. So we're pretty balanced at this point. I could go in numerous directions with this next pick. All right. You know what? Stafford falling this far below ADP. This guy led the NFL in all important quarterback stats last year: yards, touchdowns, everything. He's not super mobile, and that's why he goes this far down in the draft. But now with Jackson Dart and Matthew Stafford, I have a real solid floor to my quarterbacks. I don't love that, because I actually had those guys on my last team that I streamed, but the last one had Puka and no neighbors. This one is a little bit different. That is a quarterback combination that I like a lot, but don't think that just because I did it in 2 stream drafts in a row that's what I'm doing all the time. It's really not. I just happen to get good value on those guys right now. There are plenty of other quarterbacks that I like a lot, and I will be building stacks with every single starting quarterback. Obviously some more than others, and these guys I do like, so I might have them in their stacks a little bit more than some other guys. But you know what? I also love Josh Allen. Lamar could be in for a bounce back year. I always love Joe Burrow. I love Drake May. Caleb Williams might be my favorite quarterback for best ball this year. I think that he has a real solid chance of being quarterback 1. He just looked like he was really developing. What I saw from Caleb Williams last year towards the end of the season, I really loved it. It really looks like this guy's taking a step up. Dak Prescott is a great regular season quarterback and is amazing for best ball every year. I'm down on Jaden Daniels. I'm down on Justin Herbert. These guys both have offensive line issues. But, just goes to show you, I like a lot of these quarterbacks, and I will be drafting every single one of them. Okay. Everyone who projects to play, anyways. I might have a little bit of lower exposure to Kyler Murray or, the other guy up there in Minnesota. I might have semi-low exposure to a few guys, Geno Smith. But I'll have them. I will draft them some. I will build stacks. I'll try to make the best builds that I can build with every quarterback throughout the hundreds and hundreds of drafts that I will do this year, as I always do. And that experience stacks right up. It helps me get advantage in all these drafts. And I'm trying to share that advantage with you guys if I can. 116 is coming up. And then we'll see who am I going to have available for this pick here at 116. All right. Do I want to take my third quarterback so early? I do have Igbuka, and I was talking up those Bucks wide receivers earlier, especially the ones I can get in the late rounds. You know what? I think I'm going to take Baker, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about how we can get good value on some Tampa Bay weapons late. I'm done at quarterback now. Let's see how everyone else is doing at quarterback. 2-2-1-1, 2-2-1-1, 2-2-2. Okay. So I'm the only one with 3 quarterbacks already. That's going to hurt me at my skill position players. But the thing is, I am extremely confident that here in the second part of the draft, from the 11th pick on, I'm just more knowledgeable in the depth players, in the rookies coming in, than the field. And even though no one has been a complete bonehead in this draft, I also don't think anyone has been extremely sharp. I'm not super worried about anyone. And as long as the second half of this draft goes well, I think we can chalk this one up as another advancing draft. But, it's too early to say, of course. $125's coming up. And Charbonnet is still sitting there. Jonathan Brooks is still sitting there. Shakir's inconsistent, but he can supply you with some spike weeks throughout. 124. I already have Jackson Dart, so I just got to go likely here. Now I have Jackson Dart's top 2 targets and Malik Neighbors and Isaiah Likely. And if Jackson Dart throws 3 touchdowns in a game, chances are at least 2 of them are going to be to these guys. If not, all 3 of them are going to be to these guys. I definitely have some late round stacking partners to go with the Giants and the Bucks. A lot of the Rams weapons go a little bit earlier. I don't know if there's going to be anyone I love so much down there. But Stafford is kind of, I might stack him a little bit less than Dart and Mayfield in this draft, and he's just going to be my insurance. And, in case I need to cover a bye week, in case Mayfield and Dart both have a bad week in the same week, hopefully Stafford can come up, cover some of those points, so I don't take such a punishment that week, and I can still advance to the playoffs. Pick 140 is going to be my next pick. Let's take a peek around the draft now that more people have quarterbacks. This guy's got Burden stacked with Caleb. I like it. He's got Thomas stacked with Lawrence. Okay, so this guy isn't clueless. This guy is kind of sharp. All right, second guy, not quite as sharp, but his team isn't horrible. And we got Chase, McBride, Pickens, Irving, Swift, Pierce. I don't love the third slots team. This guy in the fourth slot's taking a lot of chances. This guy in the fifth slot is incredibly good looking. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so, and then the guy in the fifth, coming back to me, not yet. All right, this guy went wide receiver heavy for the first 5 rounds. He's got Harvey and he's really behind at running back, and I don't think he's going to be able to catch up unless he drafts the perfect rookies later. But I might just have to take those guys before he can take them, because I need running backs too. I've got 2 real strong running backs. I got 3 pretty strong running backs, but I got two top tier guys. I guess I can wait a little bit longer on running back if I wanted to. 140 is coming up. You know, Sadiq might be there. And although I am down on him a little bit now that he got drafted by the Jets, this guy was special at Oregon. Did you see his highlights? Man, he has all the tools. He really does. I might have to grab him here. So now, wow. So I don't necessarily recommend this strategy, but just pointing out, I am completely balanced. 3 of everything, including quarterback and tight end. I normally do not like to have 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, especially not, I don't necessarily like to have 3 quarterbacks or 3 tight ends before I have more running backs and wide receivers. But, we gotta keep doing these different builds. You never know what kind of non-intuitive thing is going to end up being optimal. Can't draft the same teams. We do have Dart and Stafford on this team and the last one that I drafted, and likely as well. But overall, this is a completely different build. I did a modified 0 running back build in that one. I've got a couple of high running backs here. So it is a different strategy, a different build. There's a few of the same guys in here. But I'm going to do my best to show you my knowledge of depth and take some different guys late who I like a lot. And I will tell you exactly why when those situations arise. Okay, now, I did take Baker, right? I took Baker. So if I wanted to, I could take McMillan here. He's actually, I know he showed some flashes for sure, and it's just that they have so many weapons that I think that Baker is going to prefer over him. So I'm not taking him. I hate Cooper Jr. now that he got drafted by the Jets, and I already have Sadiq. I'm definitely not building a Jet stack. Shaheed, in his second year in Seattle, maybe he's worked a little bit more into the offense, and he has that spike week potential at any time. Let's snag him. Snagging Shaheed. I think that we were all expecting a little bit more from him last year when he got traded. He got traded to the Seahawks, right? I think he did. But he didn't really. He had a couple of decent weeks. 1 week with 20. That was before he got traded. Still, he had some good weeks. He was not nearly as good with the Seahawks as we kind of expected him to be, but they had a lot of weapons, and he was just new to the offense. So I think that there was probably less plays specifically designed for him, and I expect a little bit more of that this year. I think they get Shaheed involved a little bit more, if for nothing else, just to take a little bit of attention away from JSN. Okay. There goes Fernando Mendoza. See, now that I've already filled my quarterbacks, I'm definitely not going to take a fourth quarterback. But because I've had them filled, every time someone else takes a quarterback, after my quarterbacks are completely filled, that's just more other players that are going to drop to me that I might not have been able to take before. If I still needed a quarterback, I might have to pass on some certain guys and, take Shedeur Sanders or Fernando Mendoza or, one of these back-end quarterback threes at the end instead of taking a player who I think might be a sleeper who might win me the league. Your third quarterback is probably not going to win you your league, but a sleeper wide receiver, a sleeper tight end, a sleeper running back absolutely might win it for you. They're going to win you the draft, and they could be the piece that you need to win it all in Week 17 and walk away with a gigantic best ball prize. Okay. Now, there goes Geno Smith. Malik Willis, and Patrick Mahomes. Oh, I do not like your quarterback room. I do not like your team at all. This guy's no chance. Okay, moving right along, Mark. Sorry, buddy. All right, let's check out this guy who I was curious about earlier. He started unique but nice. I didn't love the Chuba pick. I did like the Tate pick in the 6th round, even though Tate is not my favorite rookie wide receiver. 6th round is pretty good value on him. Going a little strong with the Tennessee players. Tony Pollard is solid, but I would like him a lot more if Tennessee worked on their offensive line a little bit more in the offseason. There's been rumors that Kyle Pitts is going to get traded. Not so sure if that's really going to happen. But he's a solid player. You can get him in this area or later in the draft. Woody Marks I like in Houston more than the Fields. So this guy is okay. I don't like the Tyreek Hill pick. All right. Moving right along. Okay, so this guy's further stacking his Fernando Mendoza. Does he have any other Vegas weapons? He's Genti. Okay, receiving back a little bit, so that counts. And 164 on deck. What do we have? We're not going to take Denzel Boston. I've talked about Denzel Boston a lot. Definitely not taking Travis Hunter. He might end up being just a cornerback, and you don't want to draft a cornerback on your team, that's for sure. Jonah Coleman, I also love. Have taken a lot of Jonah Coleman. And let's grab up Jonah Coleman. I love Jonah Coleman. I've heard a few different best ball people talk smack about him because they heard hype from people in the chat and they haven't watched the highlights themselves, so they just don't understand how special this guy is. He really is, but you can tell just by watching him run. You know, I felt a little bit different about R.J. Harvey when I watched him run. It seems like R.J. Harvey has a little bit of wasted movement in his run style. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly the way to describe it. But I used to be, I was a team leader in the Army, and I was also a personal trainer. So I've coached a lot of people up on their run style, and I can kind of see when there's problems in people's run style. And what I didn't like about R.J. Harvey was, and I know that he's trying to get those explosive push-offs, but what he's doing to create those explosive push-offs is he's raising his knees up really high on every stride, and it's just a lot of wasted motion, and he could be quicker, he could be more agile if he wasn't doing that. Jonah Coleman, I do not feel like Jonah Coleman, his run style is incredible. Okay. All right, check out here. Let's take Jeremy Bernard. Aaron Rodgers historically doesn't love to throw to rookies, but Jeremy Bernard is a really solid rookie. I do expect him to earn a little bit of the target share out there, and he could be one of those guys that just explodes. And, because all the analysts are saying that it's only Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Love and Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon, because the analysts want to tell you that those are the only guys worth taking. A lot of people aren't taking shots on Jeremy Bernard. And if he does smash, he's going to be low owned. If I can make it into the playoffs with this team, he's going to be extremely low owned in the playoffs. And he could be one of those guys that you just need. I had him on my, this is an extremely deep wide receiver draft class, which is another reason why the analysts are crazy for boxing in 2 or 3 of these guys and telling you that nobody else is worth drafting. This is I scout the draft every year. I have for a really long time, since before there was anything streamed. It was only on ABC. It used to be on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was all day on the weekend. It was a lot different back then. But I've been scouting the draft and the rookies coming in from the draft for years and years and years. A lot of years, more years than I even want to admit, because you guys probably don't even think I'm that old. But it's been a while. And this is one of, if not the deepest wide receiver class I have ever seen. There are wide receivers who were drafted in the 3rd and 4th round this year who are going to score multiple touchdowns, who are going to have spike weeks, who are going to help best ball teams, who are going to contribute to a huge payout on multiple people's best ball teams. And if you want to just stay away from them, if you want to stay away from all the new weapons coming into the league, just because Mel Kiper and Todd McShay want to tell you there's only a few guys worth drafting, let me tell you, Mel Kiper and Todd McShay do not play best ball, okay? I don't even know if they play regular fantasy. I mean, they probably do. But I don't even think if they do, they're probably not even that great at it. I've been out-projecting those guys for many, many years. And this year, the stuff coming out of their mouths that's being repeated by others about no standout rookies is just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Okay. Nick Singleton is another rookie running back. Penn State was pretty nice. I don't project big things for him in the NFL. But let's take Keon Coleman here. Take a shot on one of these Bills guys who's going to be Josh Allen's flavor of the week for, maybe only 2 or 3 weeks throughout the season. But you know what? If he has 2 or 3 weeks with over 20 points and I drafted him here in the 16th round, thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? He probably will. I'm not sure what to expect from Jeremy Bernard. He could be a real good player. I think that in most roads, in most possible turnouts, the way the season could go, Keon Coleman probably projects to have a better season than Jeremy Bernard. But both of these guys are worth taking shots on, especially late in the end of the draft. Now that we're down to the 16th, 17th round, ADP does not matter at all. You just take good players who are going to contribute to your team. Look at your team. I've got 3 quarterbacks. I'm set. I've got 4 running backs. I need at least 1 more, maybe 2. I got 6 strong wide receivers. I'm probably going to draft at least 1 more, especially considering I already have 3 tight ends who are pretty good. So I'm completely done for sure at quarterback and tight end, and I'm just going to look for some extreme value at the end here of this draft on some running backs and some wide receivers. I have to put a little bit of extra priority on running back because I only have 4, but let's see. I would like one more guy that I could feel like I can lean on for at least a few weeks. That might be Kamara. I know a lot of people are down on Kamara. But listen, this guy's been a weapon for a long time. He only averaged 9 points a game last year. He had a game with 14. Man, no spike weeks. All right. Braylon Allen was the youngest player in the NFL a couple of years ago, so I do expect him to be a little bit older, have a little bit more man strength this year. Man, this is not looking good. Let's just take Braylon Allen. Oh, man, I forgot I already took Sadiq, and I do not like to take more than 1 Jet on a team, but rules are meant to be broken. The Jets made a lot of improvements to their team in free agency and the draft. They look to be at least a little bit better, but they ignored the offensive line. Not that they had the worst offensive line in the league, but they also were a little bit less than middle of the pack, and they did not do anything to improve it, considering they have a questionable quarterback in Geno Smith, who I know has had flashes of being really good at certain points in his career. Overall, he's just not that consistent. I don't think he's going to consistently be able to deliver the ball enough to where the Jets can put up enough points and compete in their own division with the Bills and the Patriots. But, in a year or two, these guys could, if they continue building right and they finally address that offensive line, they are surrounding whoever the quarterback is. I assume that they're waiting until next year to draft a quarterback, maybe Arch Manning or one of these other guys. I mean, Arch Manning might refuse to play for the Jets. Who knows? He might pull Eli. When Eli was like, nah, I'm not playing for San Diego. What are you guys, smoking crack? No way. My name's Manning. I'm playing for a good organization. And that might be what Arch does as well. And if that's the case, it might be bad news for the Jets. It might be bad news for the Browns. It might be bad news for the Dolphins. These teams that are likely to be picking up there in the top 5 of the draft and who are probably hoping that they can get themselves some Arch Manning next year in the draft. And Arch Manning, he does look legit. Arch Manning might be the best Manning. I know people have been saying that for a long time, but the kid is going to be a legit weapon. And I've already seen some way too early mock drafts for next year. And it's crazy that they don't have this guy as the number one. I'm telling you right now, Arch Manning, barring unless he breaks his leg or dislocates his throwing shoulder, this guy is without a doubt the number one pick in the draft next year. And if he refuses to play for whatever team has the number one draft, whatever, they'll have to trade him. They'll have to that could be the thing. If he tells whoever has the number one overall pick that he's just not playing for them, and they decide to not draft him, that's the only way he's not getting drafted one overall. But just like Eli Manning, when Eli told San Diego that he wasn't going to play for them, it's not like they just passed him and gave him away for free. They're like, okay, we'll draft you, and then we're going to trade you, and we're going to get multiple first-round picks from the Giants, and that's what they did. And that's probably what's going to happen again with Arch Manning if he refuses to play for whoever has the first overall pick. Okay, now looking at our running backs and our wide receivers, we have a few. I could end the last couple rounds with strong wide receivers, so I think I'm going to look at the running backs. Ollie Gordon, I like to get the goal line touches in Miami. There might not be as many as you would like because Miami's going to suck, but I'm taking him. I have a feeling that Ollie Gordon is going to get himself into the end zone. He's big and he's strong. And he was a rookie last year. I don't remember what round he got taken. Maybe it was the 4th or 5th round. He wasn't super highly touted, but the guy is a good player. And at 221, I do have Jackson Dart on this team, so I'm going to get my other favorite stacking partner who goes at the end of the draft, Malachi Fields, who is one of these guys that... keep thinking. Go ahead and keep thinking that Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon are the only wide receivers worth taking. Let me tell you a little something about Malachi Fields. A little something about Ted Hurst, who this guy, Christopher, just drafted in the 18th round. He usually goes later, but Ted Hurst is worth taking a couple rounds ahead of ADP because he is also a rookie who is going to step in and produce big time right away as a rookie. And there's a lot of them. There really is a lot of them. Let's look at the wide receivers here. Zachariah Branch, the screen machine. He's going to produce. Chris Brazzell, I'm not as confident on. He just looks so skinny. I know there's a lot of tall, skinny wide receivers in the NFL, but Chris Brazzell looks extra skinny. He looks fragile. He looks like he's going to get broken. Let's see. Keep scrolling down. Looking at... Oh, okay. So, Fields is still here. I don't need anything but wide receivers at this point. And looking here, the only other guy I would even consider taking over Malachi Fields is Zach Branch, but I think Fields definitely projects better as a rookie, and I already have Jackson Dart on this team, so that's a nice little way to finish up that giant stack. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling good about this team. Okay. I mean, my first 7 picks are all great, in my opinion. McCaffrey, Neighbors, Kyren Williams, Igbuka, Tyler Warren, Washington. What is his name? PJ? PJ Washington? I think it's PJ. It only says P here, but I think it's PJ Washington. Whatever Washington's name is, he's a guy that not a lot of people know about. I kind of put Alec Pierce in that same bucket too. I accidentally, I didn't even know about him really until I don't know, a couple weeks ago when I was doing a draft, and I accidentally took him on auto pick, and I was super upset about it for a minute. And then I looked over his production from last year, and at the end of the year, he came on real strong. And I don't watch all the Jacksonville games, so I did not know. I didn't hear hype. But the guy was producing. He was producing big time. Let me get a little bit of that this year, too. And we're going to have one more pick at 236. Let's try to find one more sleeper. I don't love Calvin Austin. Not sure if Hopkins is even going to play. Douglas did not do so well last year. Surratt, Elijah Surratt from Indiana, who the Ravens took, could definitely produce as a rookie. He's a little bit more of a flyer. Oh, you know what? There's my guy right there. There's my guy right there. Skylar Bell went to UConn, had over 100 catches, had just under 1,300 yards. This guy makes plays. Even for UConn, I'm not sure exactly who UConn's quarterback was. I don't think it was anyone elite. Excuse me if I'm wrong about that. Scouted the quarterbacks a little bit less because I didn't expect so many impact best ball players out of the quarterback position this year. Hopefully that wasn't a mistake. I do not think it was. I did go through and scout like the top 10 ranked guys, and I didn't see much that I loved, to be honest with you. Green from Arkansas is my favorite sleeper rookie quarterback in this class, but I don't think he's even going to get a chance to play as a rookie. Maybe 1 or 2 games, possibly, if there's some injuries over there in Cleveland. But I actually expect him to maybe be the Browns quarterback of the future. Oh, there goes Skylar Bell. Oh, I wanted him in the 20th round. That would have really shaped this team nicely. Elijah Surratt is still there. I could go. You know what? Surratt, in my opinion, has what it could probably outperform Bateman. We are getting a little bit thin down here, and I'm just going to take Surratt. Take a shot on this rookie. He was, if I remember right, I had him ranked below Fields. I had him ranked below Bernard, but he was still around wide receiver 10, I believe, if I remember back from my list that I had made. I was working on those rankings for the wide receivers and running backs and tight ends, especially the rookies, for an extremely long time. I'm not one of those guys who just spent 2 minutes on each player watching highlights. I really, really went and did deep dives on the majority of these rookies coming in, analyzing their play style, their body style, what kind of system they were in college. And now we're kind of projecting that onto the NFL, looking at the new teams, the new system that they're in, the depth chart, what other players are available, and trying to identify these guys who are going to be the difference maker that wins us a big cash best ball prize this year. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with this team. We ended up with McCaffrey, Neighbors, Kyron Williams, Egbuka, Warren. Is it Parker Washington, right? I said PJ. I think it's Parker Washington. Parker Washington, Jackson Dart. That first 7 rounds, that went really, really well. I have a lot of ceiling, a lot of floor. I like Stevenson. I feel like I got really good value on him compared to where the other guy took Henderson in the 5th round. We already talked about that a little bit earlier. We got Stafford. To help ensure that I never take a 0 in my quarterback spot on a bye week. We got Baker Mayfield, and we did not remember to stack him up with a couple of his weapons at the end of the draft. I really wanted to stack him with Ted Hurst and Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson actually was probably still available, but he slipped my mind. I probably should have taken him instead of Surratt if he was still on the board. That would have been a better pick right there. But you know what? Overall, I like this team, and there was no complete boneheads necessarily in this draft. And so because of that, I should say, I wasn't able to get as good a value as I was able to get in some other drafts in the late rounds. I do really like the first half of this draft, and the second half of this draft was pretty solid as well. Come back, watch a bunch more drafts, and like I tell you, the ending part of these drafts is where you're going to get the value out of the video. Everyone has opinions on these guys that go in the first 10, 11, 12 rounds. But once we get down here, once we get to the 14th, 15th round and beyond, a lot of guys, even best ball content creators, they just, they might know these guys' names. They might know that they didn't perform so well last year, but when it comes to the rookies, they're just clueless on these guys, the majority of them. And, there's other guys. There's other guys back here at the end of the draft that are not rookies, like Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon is poised to step in and take a lot of the carries on the goal line away from Achane. Achane managed to stay healthy last year. Can he do it again? If he's banged up at all, Ollie Gordon becomes the draft winner. He becomes the guy that you need. He is good enough. He is a really, really good player. He would be getting a lot of carries if he was on a team that did not have Devon Achane. Okay? So that wraps up this one. I don't know if I'm going to do another draft today or not. This was the second one of the day. It is. Just to remind you guys, it's May 2nd. It's about 12:30 right now at the end of this draft. I hope you guys took a little something away from this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe. This is a brand new channel. I'm trying to build it up from scratch. I'm trying to give as much value, as much of my best ball expertise as I can to you guys. And, you know, I'm not telling you to believe everything I say. I'm not telling you to take it as gospel. But listen to my opinions. I have reasoning behind why I like or don't like people. And I take the offensive line into consideration, which is something that you just do not hear in many other places. So, reminding you one more time, please subscribe. Help me out. Come back. Watch a bunch more drafts because there's going to be a bunch of different builds, a bunch of different strategies, and a bunch more different validations of why I'm taking certain picks in certain places, why it's okay to reach, why it's not okay to reach, why are we doing the things that we do in these best ball drafts, and how do we win?